So today, my name is Byrd. I'm talking about home. So I've lived in a lot of places, well, several places. So I grew up in Gastonia, North Carolina, and then I went to college in Atlanta, Georgia. I grad school in Michigan, and then in Michigan I lived in Ann Arbor, and Taylor, which is closer to Detroit, and then north of Ann Arbor and Brighton. And finally, I lived here in California. So one of the things I tell people is that Michigan never felt like home until right before I left. I lived there for 7 years. And so I think about why not, right? So one idea about home is that it's this physical place. So in Gastonia, where I grew up, spent the first 18 years of my life, my family has lived there for generations. Like going back, you can see my folks there. It's a place I always wanted to return to after college, and it was only a very good graduate program that persuaded me to go all the way to Michigan. And when I was making that decision, I told myself, it's only 5 years of grad school. And of course, it wasn't just 5 years, it ended up being 7 years. And then after those 7 years, instead of moving home, I moved here to California. So maybe home isn't really a physical place. Maybe home is something different, right? Because I actually don't like Gastonia all that much. So it's a place when I go back there, there's some bad memories. The friends that I had in high school, I don't care to visit anymore. There are places that I avoid, like my high school. I actually on a visit there, I ran into one of my high school teachers. And I was telling her what I do, and she was asking what I study. And I was telling her I study school climate. But what I didn't tell her was that I study school climate because of people like you, because of my experience in your classroom. So maybe home isn't really this physical location. Maybe it's more just a memory of the good times that you had. Right? So, the happy times in Gastonia was when I was in elementary school. I loved elementary school. I loved, when my parents were together. I loved our trips to the beach, to the mountains. I remember the food. So maybe home is more those types of things. So I did say that Michigan felt like home toward the end of my stay there. So you might be wondering, why is that? So some of you know my partner Steve, who I met while I was in grad school in Michigan. And so wasn't really expecting to meet someone to be in a super long-term relationship, but after 3 years together, I was finishing grad school, and it was time to decide, okay, where am I going to go? Am I going to go back home? I'm going to stay here. We're going to go somewhere new together. And he had grown up in Michigan, so he was like, I'm not leaving Michigan. So we made a deal, and he said, okay, if I stay here in Michigan for you, then you need to make like a big commitment to me, right? And we didn't believe in marriage, so we bought a house together. So we bought this house in Brighton, and we lived there, and we had a little home. So it was, I think, partly that made me feel like, okay, finally, this is my home. But another thing was that I had really built up a community in my church. I had been a part of a church for, about 4 or 5 years at that point, where I was one of the children's teachers, right? And so I felt like I really had a place, a lot of people who knew me. I also had some friendships that I knew were going to be lifelong friendships. They're really important friendships. So maybe home is like a community. And I have a community here in Santa Cruz too. Santa Cruz feels like home, definitely. And so there's 2 reasons I love Santa Cruz. And one is because of my friends here. There are people here, especially at the church, where I like seeing them every week. I want to hang out with them. It's a place that I feel like I belong. I feel like where I am loved. Home is also the family and friends I have in North Carolina, and that's part of the reason we're moving back there. Some of my friends who are there are people who I met in grad school in Michigan and who then moved to North Carolina. So in the department I'm going to, the college I'm going to, I have two friends who work there that I met in grad school, who are not from there. Other friends are new friends that I met who live in North Carolina, like Elle's birth mother. So she actually lives about an hour and a half away from where we're moving to. So she's someone that I met through a friend from grad school and who we've established a really strong relationship with and who we want Ella to know as she's growing up. So that's part of the draw too, is that when we go back to North Carolina, we'll have a home, a family, a community there. So there's another reason I love Santa Cruz. And I have to tell you the story of how I met Christopher. Some of you know the story. So right when I left Michigan, my church community had fractured. There'd been a big conflict that basically caused half the church to go and start a new church and the other half to stay. So I was really hurt by this. And so when I came to Santa Cruz, I didn't want to get involved in a church again because I was like, I don't know what they believe and I don't know if the same thing is going to happen. So it took me a few years actually to start going to church again. And I started visiting a church. And I was really wary when I first started going to the services because I was like, okay, what are these people like? What do they believe? What happened in my church in Michigan was over having a gay pastor, right? So Steve was like, you just go ask them, do they hate gay people? I was like, I can't do that. But I was looking, I was listening for the signs, signals. And then one day during a small group, we were, just talking about ourselves, and someone said, "Oh, you work up on campus. A lot of people believe in evolution up there." And I said, "Yeah, they do, and I do too, because I'm a scientist." And this lady said, "Oh, I have a book for you to read," and she gave me this book a few weeks later. And I never read the book, but I eventually stopped going to that church. Because it seemed to be like, okay, that was my signal. Maybe I don't really belong here. So then I went home to North Carolina to visit my sister and my mother. And my sister took me to her church. And while I was there, I met some of the people there, including the pastor. And he said, "Oh, you're from Santa Cruz? I know this guy out there. You should meet him. You should go to his church." And so I was like, okay, I'll try it out. I don't have anywhere else to try right now. So when I got back to Santa Cruz, a few weeks later, I walked into Garfield Park Community Church. And I met Christopher, I met a lot of you. And, it was kind of a small place, but it felt comfy. It felt like there were really nice people here. And it felt like there was kind of a purpose to it. And then a few weeks after that, Christopher invited me to coffee, and he was telling me about what is the vision of this church, and what are we trying to do? And he invited me into that vision. And I became super involved in it. So I became the children's minister, and then a little bit later, the president of the board of directors. So I really have become very tied to this mission. So maybe home is also this ideal, right? Home is this mission that drives you toward it, even when there's stumbling blocks, even when there's trouble. In this church, we have that strong mission, right? It's also something that I feel is a part of my work life, too, right? My work, looking at school climate, looking at how students feel like they belong in school, is part of this idea of making diversity something that's great, something that is important to a community, and something that makes everyone's lives better. So I really feel like that's my mission in this church, and that's my mission on campus too. And so even though my work doesn't feel like it's done here in Santa Cruz, I feel a pull toward a mission at North Carolina State as well. When I was meeting at the job interview, when I was meeting with the dean, right, I was asking her, how our faculty evaluated, and she says, well, we really care about the impact that faculty make. And I said, well, what do you mean by impact? And she said, well, I don't mean publications. She said, we're a college of education, and we're about making education an equitable system. And that felt like a mission that I could identify with. So maybe home is this ideal state that pulls us toward it. even when there's sadness about leaving something else behind. So I want to make two connections to the Bible. One was with Moses and the Israelites who were wandering in the desert for 40 years. So they were trying to get to a home, a new home, right? And some of the people who started that journey never got to the home. Moses himself didn't, right? But maybe home wasn't that physical place that they were trying to get to. Maybe the home was the community they built in the desert. It was the laws they developed, right? And even this story, those laws and that community that they developed is the basis of the Jewish faith and the Jewish community today. So it says not the destination, but the journey. And so it seems like that journey was really important for them. Maybe even more so than the physical place that they ended up in. Because what those 40 years also established was this ideal state, the thing that they were going to, that land of milk and honey, that community of justice and of righteousness that they were going toward. Even when it seemed like they were lost, they had something that was pulling them along. So the other example I want to talk about is with Jesus, of course. So this is Matthew 8, 19 through 20. This is after he's been preaching, and a teacher of the law comes up to him and says, "Teacher, I will follow you wherever you go." And Jesus replied, "Foxes have dens and birds have nests, but the Son of Man has no place to lay his head." So to me, this says something like, well, in order to follow Jesus, you may not have a physical home. You may not have a place to lay your head. But we also know that Jesus wasn't homeless, right? He had parents that he could go hang out with. He had followers who had houses that they could sleep in all around. But Jesus also wasn't talking about home or a place to lay your head as a memory either, because they were finally in this promised land. And even though he was advocating for a new kingdom, it wasn't necessarily a return to the old ways, right? It was a new something. So maybe he's saying that to follow him, you have to reject this physical home for a community. And we know he certainly had a community, right? He had the 12 disciples, he had lots of other followers. People who he cared about and who cared about him. But I think that Jesus is also saying that when you leave the comfort of a physical home, you have to find a place to lay your head on the ideal, right? That ideal state that draws you in, despite the pain. Jesus described it as the kingdom of God, a place where there's justice and righteousness and peace. And that ideal was so powerful that people continued to follow it even after Jesus' death and his resurrection. People continued the movement even when he had physically departed from the earth. So maybe home is that ideal. So, as you all know, Greater Purpose is now searching for a physical home, right? And we may not find one right away. It may seem like we're wandering in the desert, and we have lots of stumbling blocks in front of us. It may seem like we don't have a place to lay our heads, and that the memory of where we were was so comfortable and so appealing compared to where we are now. It may feel like our community is not quite what it used to be, but we still have that community. We still have that strong sense of togetherness. And even more than that, we still have our ideal. We still have that vision that is pulling us toward it, regardless of the stress. And I have no doubt one day we'll have a beautiful physical home. Right? But until then, maybe we should just delight in this shared vision that we have, in this ideal that we can call home. Thank you.
I know that we are all working really hard right now while we're looking for a physical home. But Dr. Byrd's message touched me because this is home. Like, walls crumble over time. Buildings, they fall, they come and go, but a movement never ends. And I don't think I really don't think, based on my years of study, that Jesus came to start the temple. In fact, I think he came to break temples down and build community. So in this time, while we're looking for a physical location, which could be, 2 months, it could be 2 years, let's enjoy one another. And then while we're looking for a physical location, I invite you all to pray for us, because we are searching throughout Santa Cruz for a spot for our brewery church, where we're going to be making beers, selling it, and hopefully making some money for charities with the profits. I think it's an awesome vision. We just need to find a space to go with it. So pray for us, and if you hear of anything, come to me, email me, be like, hey, I heard of this spot at such and such. Give them a call. That would help me out so much. And until next week, I want to say this benediction. You're welcome to say it with me. I genuinely mean this here. May the peace of the Lord Christ go with you wherever He may send you. May it guide you through the wilderness and protect you through the storms. May it bring you home rejoicing at the wonders that it shows you, and may it bring you home rejoicing once again into our doors.